I'll wait till Amy does her thing. I'm gonna use this clicker over here because we've already gone through three, the two of us. And this is the one that works. So, you know, it just is what it is. So first of all, and let's just make sure that this is, oh, it is, well, it's gonna be sensitive. So first of all, thank you for being here. I intend to do this very conversationally. So please don't hesitate to at any point ask me a question, stop me, ask for clarity, etc. I'm going to take you through a bunch of frameworks, but it's not, and I don't love just standing here and spewing out. I would rather it was two-way, so don't hesitate to ask any question at all. Maybe as we get started, obviously you guys are going to hear a lot about me and my clients, because I will give you examples. So for everything that I do, I really try to give you an example. And the reason that I actually have worksheets in front of you is so that you could actually take notes and do some of that today. I have lots, I literally have tons of frameworks and tools. And I point to Marley because Marley was one of my students. So I'm sharing a few of them with you today. But if there is something that comes up that I haven't provided, I will ensure that I have your email addresses and I'll send it over to you. So happy to do whatever is going to help serve you today. That's why I'm here.
What were you teaching? Where did Marley see Nicole become your student?
Pole dancing.
Oh,
No.
Just kidding.
Just kidding. You gotta break the ice.
Yeah.
That's great. Here we are. Between the cocktails.
Yeah.
So truth be told, so I am gonna go a little bit into my history, but off the top at Loyalist College. So Marley took the advertising and creative program. And as a result, I was teaching creative thinking and case studies. And so that's where Marley and I had the great pleasure of working together. Marley was there for 2 years.
Okay.
And even if Marley wasn't here, I would say this, she was the top student. And I probably shouldn't say this because it's being recorded. Now everybody's going to know. But phenomenal, like literally the top student in that cohort, both in terms of just diligence, creativity, and one thing that I said to her yesterday, so she actually spoke to my students yesterday,
Okay.
which is amazing, is she definitely, without realizing it, comes to the table with a lot of intention. So there's a lot of intentional thinking that is happening in the background that she doesn't actually realize about herself that she brings to the table. So that's where we had the great fortune of meeting each other. And now obviously we're kind of stuck with each other now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who's stuck with who, but we're stuck. It's a good stuck. So, and Marley launched Lighthouse Tutoring with her partner Nolan. And what started off as him not wanting to do it, which I found out for the first time yesterday, has snowballed into a second location and begging for more.
Yeah. So
amazing. Yeah, they're doing great. They're actually doing amazing. So what I'm just going to ask each of you to do, even though now I'm going to start with you, even though we now kicked it off, is just share your name and the business that you're in and the reason that you came here today. Because obviously I have an agenda for today, and obviously there's something that has attracted you as a result of the agenda that I put forward. But I also want to ensure that I meet your needs. So I would like to hear from you if there was a particular trigger that made you show up today. I'd love to know that so that I can ensure I address that. So I'm going to go to you first. That's because I paged you off.
Okay. I'm Marley, Lighthouse Tutoring. I came to not only support Nicole, but to meet more wonderful people and network and hopefully gather some good information that I can take home. I definitely need to work on the work-life balance. So hopefully there's some good takeaways.
Hopefully this will be kind. I hope so.
No pressure.
I'm going to go back and check the
pressure.
curriculum now. Yeah, there's definitely work-life tools in here, but I've also put in some additional tools in here as well, because I want to make sure that if there's any gaps. So I tried to think of all the gaps, but we'll see.
Hi, I'm
Thanks for
Joan. Sorry.
No.
And I'm in the retail business.
I know they're all rolling.
Yeah, there's my trigger. She's my daughter. So she tries to drag me everywhere she can.
Nice, love that. You know, I love that, and I'm a little jealous. So my daughter lives in the UK.
I
And I
don't
was
sell
like,
it here.
I love that. So funny. There you go. There you go. That is super. I'll let you know at the end of the night. You know, I might not.
We could burger.
As you're sitting right here in the room. Right? Nice, nice. I hear you. I hear you. Thank you for coming.
I'm Cheyenne. I am a marketing consultant. My business is CEO marketing. I'm also a single mom of 3. So I have been bootstrapping my business for about 6 years. Full of intention, full of drive. I get a lot of it from her. And I'm about to scale up into a very exciting new direction. And frameworks is a piece that I know I've leaned into as I build. I want to get ahead and I want to pull in as much as I can. And I sat beside you at Women's Day and I was like, this is a lady I just want to know more about. I want to know more of her world. So excited to be here.
God bless you, single mother of 3 kids. Same boat.
Oh, yeah.
Not an easy boat.
No,
Not an
it's
easy
not.
boat.
But it
I
builds
get
a
it.
lot of resiliency.
Yeah, it sure does. Sure does. A lot of coffee.
A lot of coffee.
A lot of coffee and no sleep. Yeah, I know. But you're amazing. Thanks for being here, Tina. How are you, my
Hello.
friend?
I'm fine. Hello, everyone. My name's Christine Gilby and I own Sun Worship for Succulents in Belleville. And the reason that I'm here is I'm always looking for ways to improve. I am not doing a great job with my work-life balance. And I'm finding it a little bit difficult to stay on track of any one thing for longer than about 10 minutes. And then it's like, oh, I've got other things to do that I need to work on. So most of the time going back into the room I was just in because I can't remember why I came in there anyway. So I'm hoping that I can also find. I know my age, it's getting up there.
The volume, you know what I'm convinced it's actually due to?
What?
No disrespect. But you accumulate years and years of file folders in there. And so I think what happens is it's like there's so many volumes and so many now filing cabinets that it's actually sorting through to find it. Not, and so I'm not meaning, I don't think that's a bad thing. And I don't
I
mean,
usually just head back into the room and see if the thought will catch me. You know?
I know.
And the thing is that drives my husband a little bit batty because I have a need to know basis mind. I don't need to know that until the day that we are going,
yeah,
you know, kind of thing. That's yeah, so try to do a little bit better on that.
yeah, I gotcha. I'm living in your same world. So thank you for being here.
My name is Jeanette Arsenault. I've been a singer-songwriter in the region for about 30-something years, and I wrote a song called My Forgetter's Getting Better, My Rememberer's Broke.
That's awesome. Send me the link. Okay.
And I also wrote a song called Women of the World, which is now in 7 languages, and is usually played at the women's event. I don't know if they did it this year. I sang it live last year. But anyway, that's kind of my connection. So I have all sorts of songs. I want to tell you about my other one. This is My Canada, now has over 500,000 views on YouTube, and it's the right timing and all that sort of stuff. So music has been my thing forever, and I was waiting for a credibility marker in order to help other musicians. And up until now, it was like, I'm a struggling musician like everybody else. But when it hit, well, it's actually 532,000. I went to 2 Olympic Games. I'm not here to go blah, blah, blah. I really am not. I'm saying that I worked hard to get that credibility and that marker. And I think this is kind of starting for me, which is why I now want to do what my big dream is. And that's Jams Canada, which was Jeanette Arsenault Music Services. Yeah, thank you. I was so happy that nobody took it, so I quickly registered it. And I was wanting to help musicians with the business side, because I've been there. And you just want to promote and record and sing. Record, sing, perform. And then it's, oh my God, where can I find time to let people know what I'm doing, right?
True.
It's a one-stop shopping, usually for musicians. So I want to help streamline it, is what I want to do. And then other small creatives started coming to me, a makeup artist, a fitness coach, authors, saying, how can you share the same kind of information for creatives in general? So that's where I pivoted to Jeanette Arsenault mentoring services, and really on a very small scale, just one-on-one if someone wants to be coached. But my main thrust is to point people to here. This helped me with Jams Canada when I first, I'm not gonna tell you, I can talk, I'm gonna stop talking so much. Because I went to launch and COVID hit and nothing happened, so.
Understood.
Then I'm rebranding now. That's why it's taken so long to rebrand. But I want to point them in directions of people that I can partner with and bring to my own workshops, creative labs. I'm not sure what I'm calling it yet. And that's basically just to be a facilitator, because I'm not an expert, but I can be a facilitator and point them into people they should be talking to.
That's amazing.
kind of it.
As the mother of a music producer, your work would be greatly appreciated. It's very challenging.
Thank you.
It's very
And
challenging.
to share a personal story, I lost my daughter to cancer 7 years ago. So I have a different kind of trajectory.
Yep.
Been in a deep, deep, dark place for 7 years.
Mhm.
And coming out in my mid-60s going, okay, it's not over yet. I'm gonna try something new. But in any event, I've been where you are, trying to manage a little kids, you know, a little daughter, and then keep doing my business on the side. So I've been there as well. But I have a different challenge, and that's keeping myself motivated and moving forward.
For sure, I totally get
Yeah.
that. Totally get. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. You're awesome.
You all are awesome.
Fabulous. Good morning, I'm Sarah and I own Your Creative Junction. So we are a full service workshop space. We have a brick and mortar here in Bowell. We are also on the cusp of expansion. So it's part of the reason why I'm here. Because work-life balance, what is that?
Yeah.
We like our story is we grew out of my basement and online to a brick and mortar to now sold out in a week and needing a second classroom. So in under 3 years. So we're yeah, we have similar stories.
Yes.
We've already chatted, but
Yeah.
so yeah, and it's just me. So and I have 2 teenage daughters and a husband who works shift and yeah.
You're going full tilt.
We are going full tilt 7 days a week, nonstop, and I need to. I've started to like offload some things and expand my team, but just figuring out what is that network of people and how to do that and how to switch the mindset from I have to do everything to I am the founder of this and we're gonna grow and expand and what does that look like for us?
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it.
Guess I'll go again. So my name is Amy and I'm the Office and Communications Administrator here at the Small Business Center. I'm here because Nicole and I organized this workshop for you guys today. But also I've always wanted to start a business. I don't really know what yet. That's still kind of in the works, but maybe from this today I'll learn how to get that going while also working a full-time job.
You can do it. You can do it.
You can do it. 100%.
Yeah.
Do
I
it.
was listening to a stat this morning and it was an American stat, but I think it's still relevant nonetheless. And it's between 88 and 92% of the US population, adult population, has within them that desire to start a business. So it
Wow.
varies by gender, it varies by some socioeconomic backgrounds, but it just tells you all of us have the desire. It might not mean that we actually take that desire to the next level, but it just tells you how strong the desire is to do our own thing. And we have everything from amazing ideas to what we think are harebrained ideas. And it's trying to figure out which ones do we land and have the confidence to go forward and not feel like a fraud, which I think we all suffer with a little bit of imposter syndrome.
I think there's a more of a nurturing ground too. When I was younger days, it was like either be a secretary or a teacher or a nurse, or it wasn't as encouraged or as much resources, I don't think.
So it's very interesting that you say that. So when our generation, the older generation in the room,
Well, that's all we're saying.
yeah, 100%. But there was an expectation. You finished school, you got married, you
Yeah.
bought a house, you had your kids, you stayed with your career for 25 to 30 years, and that was how you lived. And the world has changed so dramatically since then. And we can all sit here and say, we can gripe about the millennials and younger generations, but the truth is we wanted to give them a life and choices that we didn't have.
Exactly.
And so in the process of that, I think there has been unbelievable openness and availability to make a lot of the choices that we may not have even had the options to choose. In addition, I think that wheel was already very well in motion. Then you add to it, COVID comes along and that throws everything into a tailspin. And so we go into these hybrid working environments, or we actually go into being sheltered at home. Now we're in a hybrid environment, and now that's really tough because there is a real tug of war that is going on. I have 3 young adult children, so 20, 28, 31, and 34 today. And so as a result of that, you can see it's like, well, but I just had 5 days a week home. And now you want me to come in 1 day a week and then 2 days a week and then 3 days a week. And now how am I going to figure all that out? So it actually part of the work-life conversation came from some of those challenges. I coach lots of business leaders and entrepreneurs, but I think for entrepreneurs, it actually just upped our game even more. We were already working in a world that's a complete blur. There's no line for us between work and life. And now that just, excuse me, accentuated it even more. So in terms of today, hopefully I will, oh, is this working? Sorry, I'm looking at my thing and thinking, oh, there we go. So my hope for today is that I help you figure out how to stop the juggling and be more intentional and aligned. So, you know, we're not gonna sit here and do a meditation, although I have been known to do that. We're not gonna actually take the time to do that today, but we are, you know, and I'm not going to take you through breathing exercises or things like that, but I do actually do that with some of my clients because they come in and they're like, you know, and we think the world is gonna cave in. And I get that. So we're gonna just talk about actual tools that I created for myself. And I'm going to provide some of the justification for those tools right here. So probably similar to you, I thought this was gonna be, you know, my life plan. I literally followed the rules, had these 3 cutie patooties and thought, you know, got married, did the things, and that was it. And it has been much chaos, much chaos. Would I change anything? The answer is yes. I would definitely change a few things. And so in the process of all of this chaos was the reason that I created the frameworks because I needed them for myself. And that is also why I teach the frameworks because I feel as a result of being able to navigate, I need to share how to navigate. So I come from, so I'll share a little bit. I have my feet in 2 worlds. So today, as I stand here, I'm very much in the private world where I am running an agency and doing lots of coaching, etc. But I'm also very much in the public domain where I am literally an educator. So I work for both Loyalist College and George Brown College. And I go back and forth as to which one I love, hate more. Right now I'm in severe strain with the education system as a result of everything that is going on within the education system and the lack of actual student first focus and success first, student success first. I graduated from university and was gonna go to law school because that's what my mom wanted me to do. And we can all see that didn't turn out. And so I failed the first round of exams, was gonna write the second one, and in the process got offered 3 different marketing jobs. So one with Nestle, one with Procter and Gamble, and one with Heinz. I really liked the people at Nestle, so I went to Nestle. And it ended up in the end being a great choice. So I stayed there for 8 years. And then as I was having my second child, I actually resigned. And my boss was like, you're actually gonna drive everyone crazy if you resign. So I have an opportunity. And so he said, we've actually identified that we're gonna give you a joint venture between Nestle and Coke. So I managed a joint venture between Nestle and Coke in a hybrid environment. Because I'm Italian at my roots, and so I wanted to be around my kids. This was now number 2. But at the same time, I still needed to use my brain or I may kill someone. Also because of my Italian roots. It's in us. So anyways, I went on to manage the joint venture and did that for about 8 years and absolutely loved it. Big tug of war between the 2 organizations because both are highly political, highly intense, etc. We ended up morphing the products that we developed into the Coke bottling system, and I continued to do a lot of work for Coke on new product innovation at that time and during that time. As I was doing that, there was a holding company that approached me, and I was doing so much agency work and so much new product launch work. They said, would you consider starting an agency for us? It's like, wow, I've been so much in the beverage industry. The thought of working on a multitude of different brands and products and services was of huge interest. So I listened to the conversation and I started up an agency under the holding company, which gives you're very entrepreneurial because you've got to make all of their numbers and everything, but it also gives you a degree of comfort that there is a big brother watching you. So we went from 0 to 20 million in 11 years and had 70 people in our head office. We had 5,000 across the country and it was awesome. And I absolutely loved it. And sometimes I wish I was still there today, but as things evolve, as you guys know, very people focused and holding companies are very financially focused. So we were delivering the numbers, but they kept pushing the carrot out for my people to become partners and gain equity. And I couldn't handle that. I was literally like, you promised them equity for 2 years now, 3 years. We've hit our numbers. This isn't fair. I was obviously bonusing them in other ways, so I was pulling all the strings in order to keep them aligned, but at some point, you're like, this is just not fair. So I left there and went on to become a partner at another agency, and I brought a lot of my people with me, and then a lot of my people went on to lead other agencies, so I'm quite proud of who they have all become. And I did that for a few years, and then my music producer said, do you think you could work with me for a bit and help me launch my music production company, which, as you know, is extremely challenging.
I want to talk to you about that after.
Yeah, so we did that for a few years, and I kept getting asked to do marketing work. I had non-competes at the time. So my clients started asking me to run workshops and do coaching and do strategy. So I ended up morphing into doing a lot of that and less so some of the strict agency work that we think of that you actually do and you do on the side. And I ended up actually loving that. At the same time, I'd been asked to guest speak at George Brown, and that snowballed into, will you teach this course and will you teach that course? And I loved obviously giving back. So that has morphed into me pretty much, I would say, coaching full time. Sometimes I coach in a classroom, sometimes I coach this way. What I found is really my sweet spot is obviously entrepreneurs and founders, because that's very much who I am. So I'm still running my agency practice to justify some of this and explain some of this. So I've won a couple of awards as a marketer as well as a collaborator. Obviously, I'm a prof. That's what some of these crazy symbols are. I have 4 rental properties and an Airbnb, all because, you know, we hear that you should have diversified income, etc. So I'm very focused on that. And then as a result of me feeling that there are gaps in the education system and honestly in the self-help system. So whether you go into the self-help system and you're looking for a book that helps you with anxiety, or you're looking at a book that helps you with frameworks, I feel like you could literally have 100 one-off books, but they didn't all come together and provide a consistent, cohesive plan that we could take away. Whereas we do have that in business. You know, we do strategic planning in business, we have annual plans, we have weekly reporting, monthly reporting, quarterly reporting. We have all these systems that we put in place, and we hold ourselves very accountable to them. We don't do that in life. And so the purpose of these frameworks was to provide that for life. And it's not preachy. It's literally, here's the framework that I used, because single self-employed mother of 3, how the fuck do you get to the other side? Honestly. And you know, there's all the, you should do this and you should do this, and it only takes 2 minutes, but oh my God. Give me the 2 minutes.
Never takes 2 minutes.
Nothing takes 2 minutes. Nothing.
I
takes
can't
2 minutes.
even pee that fast.
Say that, honestly. Yeah, when was the last time you actually drank a hot cup of coffee while it was hot? Right? I know. Actually, at the women's event, somebody was, the topic came up of how do you do everything, and so I started off by saying, you know, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I shower, or I take my supplements, and I go to the washroom, and then I put on my gym clothes and I work out, and then I start the laundry and I do this. And I was like trying to be really serious. Then I looked at everybody and I was like, are you fucking buying this? Because I was like, just come on. Like, you do it for a day or 2 and then you realize this is totally not sustainable. I gotta sleep, and you know, the dishwasher still has to be emptied. There's still stuff left over. I gotta make a lunch. Like, it's just like, yeah.
You have a dishwasher?
Yeah. Yeah, I even got a washer dryer now. You know, I know. Bigger things.
Modern woman, you.
I am. And so I'm sharing this with you because there have definitely been rises and falls, and there has been lots that's been going on. And so I'm sharing that with you because I created these frameworks for myself. And my hope is obviously, as a result, that I'll be able to share them with you and that they will help you. So these are the 5 that we're going to go through. And then I put a couple of sheets at the end in my presentation. I haven't included them in here that we could talk about if they're relevant to you guys. So the first one we're going to talk about is purpose. And so the reason that we're going to talk about that, although you guys all have businesses that are established, I like to just ground us. And so we're going to talk about that one first to make sure that this all feels right, because I truly believe that you have to have conscious intent as you move forward. So we're going to go through a little bit of that, and I will share with you all of these documents and get you going on them, but chances are you're going to want to work with them on your own. And that's totally fine. The next thing we're going to talk about is the impact map. And so for me, this is my enterprise management tool. This is the thing that says I have 3 or 4 channels of business and or I have 3 or 4 labels. I'm a mom, I'm a business owner, I have to save for my retirement, I have, you know, an Airbnb, I've got a real estate business, whatever those different channels are. And how am I going to allocate my time to manage them? So this was actually for me, what caused the make or break in my time management. It was the beginning of saying, oh my God, you know, you have to have X number of income streams, or you got to be able to do, like, where is that 2 minutes? That's just not going to happen. So this is an ugly, it's not really an ugly chart. I've given you one, and what I'm going to do is you have a copy in front of you, but what I will do after this is send you the Excel spreadsheet. And the Excel spreadsheet comes with the sample document in front of it, the same that you have, as well as a blank sheet that you can fill in and modify and make your own. The next thing we're going to talk about is our Living Legacy Manifesto, because although this happens, you know, I'm talking to one gender today, so I am going to be biased because I can be, because I am that gender. But I do think as legacy really matters to us. And I think as women, we come to business a little differently than men do. I have had male advisors and male mentors all my life. I now run 2 boards for Grow Your Biz, and it's all female advisory boards. And the reason that we're doing the female advisory board is because you need a circle of like-minded women. We think differently. And we do think about, just a second, I got to put on the dishwasher before I, you know, come to that meeting or turn on that
Maybe
Zoom
you
call.
didn't bring your note to your teacher in your school bag and I have to get it to you now.
Yeah.
Right, 100%. Like, it's all the multitasking that we think about. So, so we are gonna do some of this exercise here together. And then the last 2 are actually very much tools that I use to manage my time. So this one is very much a tool test that I honestly has probably had the most dramatic impact on how I structure my days and how I allocate the hours in my days. And I gotta tell you this, like these, well, I can't really say that. I'm gonna say that right across the board as I do each one. Each one has honestly have been a game changer for me. And then the last thing is a little bit of a gut check, and I'll share with you how I actually manage my calendars. And I have 2, like I have an online and an offline. So hopefully that will help us today, give you tools, and my hope as well is that I haven't given you extra work. Obviously, there is some work you are going to do specifically on some of the impact management and the enterprise management, but it'll fit into what you're doing. And you know, you don't have to sit down for 5 hours and figure this out. You can sit down for an hour with a cup of coffee at some point, and or you do it as a work in progress. That's often what I say to everybody, because none of this is something that you can sit and do. We can't figure out our lives all at once in an hour. It's not possible, but it's something that you can ruminate over. And so I'd like to plant that seed. So to that point, let's get into, let's get into all of the different trademarks, or all the different trademarks, that's funny. All of the different models. So the first one that we're going to talk about is really getting into your purpose. If it was a perfect world, and given that there's so few of us, I really wish there was, but Amy didn't give me that budget. But if there was, I would take you all to Okinawa, Japan. I've heard this story before. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the blue zones. You guys have heard of the blue zones. So the blue zones are centers in the world where there is the highest percentage of octogenarians. So the highest percentage of people over 80. And in those centers, when they've done research on them, they have come to discover that they consume the least amount of prescription medicines. They actually don't have gyms. They eat very organically. They move very naturally. And in fact, in Okinawa specifically, they don't have a lot of chairs. They do a lot of squatting and kneeling, etc. So they're actually quite flexible and healthy. It's beautiful. It's yes, yeah. It's made of a couple of hundred different islands. But the key here is that they found what they have defined as the key to understanding your purpose. So everybody has a role, and it doesn't matter what your age is. So you might be responsible for going and picking or catching the fish, and you might be responsible for teaching the children, especially as an elder. That is actually the expectation, and it's very specifically of female elders. You might be responsible for cooking. You might be responsible for helping do the shoes. Everybody has a role. So when you think about it, it's almost like we've dialed back time, but they have really honored the individual roles that people have so that when they wake up in the morning, they actually feel compelled to get up and do something because they are actually accountable to someone else. And so I think that's something that in our highly competitive, sometimes disconnected society, we've lost sight of the fact that we need to have accountability and a reason to do something for someone beyond ourselves. Which for so many of you, like we look at, tutoring and creativity and everything and helping musicians, this is where we're taking it beyond ourselves and helping someone else. And I think that helps get you out of bed in the morning. I think we actually need that. So that's why I bring up Okinawa. That said, they came up with this amazing model called Ikigai. And it's all centered around life's purpose. That said, I think the model's challenging. So typical of my irreverence, what I did is I actually created my own model and you have it in front of you and you actually, of all the pages in here, this has the most pages. But the intent here is that you look at these as not connected, whoops, as I take out the TV, as not connected sections. So I actually want you to look at them as individual slides, and I've given it to you from this lens as well as individually. And what I ask you to do is actually think about what you love to do and truly love to do. Love to be creative. You probably love to be creative as well. Love to garden. I don't know, love to do laundry, love to clean your house.
No
love
one
to
raised
smack
their
your
hand.
kid. That's probably not allowed to say that. I just recorded it, but here we are. So all the things you absolutely love to do and that you actually list them all out ad nauseum and go on and on. So there is a method to this madness, so bear with me. The next thing is what you're good at.
So is this for the first column? So it's not just work related?
No,
Thank you.
it's everything.
So, yep.
Because you'll find, and we'll get to that. I'm going to explain to in a few seconds. Stop being ahead of me. I'm just kidding. I'm absolutely just kidding. The next thing I want you to do is what you're good at. And there's probably a million things that you're good at. And so in the books this is kind of the halfway mark actually in the book. But I really want you to think about what you're good at. And it's often very challenging. This is the most challenging conversation I have with my clients. Really hard to identify your accomplishments. And in fact, the truth is we actually don't even celebrate our accomplishments. We had this conversation yesterday. We kind of celebrate our birthdays, maybe. We don't celebrate a big win at work, or it's kind of like, oh, great, I did that. Now I'm on to the next. We're such an on to the next culture. But think about all the things you're good at, because the truth is the things that you're good at are actually what has built the muscle for you to go out of your comfort zone and go on to the next thing. And I think sometimes we don't realize that, but that's actually what pushes us. Proving that you can open one center means maybe I can open two. And once you open two, you kind of go, maybe I can open a third. Maybe I can open a fourth. So one thing just gives you the courage and the proof to yourself that you can actually do the next thing. Obviously, it would be great if we didn't have to sustain our lives, but clearly none of us have figured that out. And I actually, so full transparency here, I kind of thought I had that figured out. And then literally at 40, my life completely imploded. So I had the house, the 3 kids, the husband that I thought was in love with me, and that all fell apart. And so that was where this framework really, really started. So I have a tattoo here. And because we haven't found Prince Charming that's going to necessarily save us from everything. And this was because this book started out as being called The Do-It-Yourself Princess. And it's literally do it yourself.
Love it. Love that.
So thank you. So maybe I have to finish that one off. But
Yes.
but that is, and that was the essence of, I got to figure this out for myself. Nobody's going to figure it out. Nobody's going to, show up with $1 million. I keep hoping I'm going to go to the mailbox and it's sitting in there. Not there, not there. So we really have to think about all the different things you can be paid for. And there's, like I hate to say it, but you can be paid to walk a dog. You can be paid to clean a house. There's so many things that we can be paid for. And sometimes we so quickly be like, these are the things I want to be paid for. But the truth is, these are actually a whole bunch of things that I can be paid for based on the hours that I have and my talents. So it's important that you actually take that bird's eye view and list that out. And then the last thing is, what does the world need? Now, admittedly, right now, as I plant that seed, we're kind of in chaotic times, to say the least. But in our corners of the world, there are problems and challenges that we can solve. So what I say to everybody is this is the lens that matters to you. We're not going to be able to fix, obviously, the global climate crisis or other issues, and I'm not going to get political today. But you know what I mean. So what I do is I've given you guys all of these sheets, and I'm just gonna ask you, even as I'm talking, to start to think about them, but I want you to think about them very much in isolation. And literally start to write down some of the things. The reason that I do this exercise is it starts to ground you. And it actually has you just take a different perspective of your business and the growth trajectory for your business. There's a ghost at the door.
Oh, those, hey, look.
No.
We're not really sure if we want you in here. We're gonna have an email box. That was so funny. That is so funny.
I walked away.
Yeah, he is welcome to be here, but that was actually so funny. Well, it's just too good to be true. Anyways, so there is a method to my madness in having you do this. So I'm actually gonna have you just add some things to those pages. So take a minute, and even if you only put one bullet on each thing, just take a minute and add the bullet. Trust me, do you need a pen? Welcome. And I've given you full pages for each of these. When you think about what you love, anything that lights you up, like if you love gardening, write it down. You like doing honeybees, napping, write it down.
That thing is brilliant.
Just sleep in general.
Oh, I miss that.
Yeah. I have a friend and she just wanted to travel around the world and she can't afford it. So she house sits and now she pet sits. So she pet sits in their home
Nice.
around the world. I'm like, how good is that? Like, honestly, like this is where this exercise just sort of forces you to think about out of the box about the work that you do. By the way, she was a senior VP at CIBC. So not a chump change person, 100%.
Incredible.
Left a 6-figure income, sold everything.
Here
Here we are.
Love it.
Some days I'm jealous.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Yeah.
I went to Australia in 2009 and I seriously considered not coming back. Damn kids.
Yeah, I know.
They suck the life right out of you. All my oxygen.
So as you're doing, obviously you're doing what you love at first, because I've given you lots. And notice that I gave you a page that was like a full page so that you could fill this up. Because there's hopefully lots of things that you love. So what you're good at is often as well, like you're gonna think of some things that you're good at, but think about what people ask you to do. Think about what your girlfriends, your partners, your neighbors, people that you work for with ask you to do. That actually will probably help highlight some of the things that you're good at. You're obviously quite social and run a very warm store for people to come in and see your dogs.
Yeah.
Like, so there's more going on there. And so sometimes we have.
Serotonin surge for the succulent sweats.
So I gotta be honest with you. So there's a story in there that you need to talk about it. And maybe there's education in there for kids for school. And so now you're part of a
Kids,
school
did you
trip.
not just hear me say that? I suck the oxygen out of me.
Somebody else's kids, like, because then you said,
But ironically, the first thing I wrote was teach.
so amazing how, because people can't take care of plants, they can take care of succulents. You know what I mean? So, maybe there's an opportunity to get into classrooms in a totally different way.
Have done that actually.
And so there's probably an opportunity to do more of that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be at the elementary level, high school level, college level, like look where we're sitting. Do you know what I mean? In so many different ways. You go to a women's event and now you talk about the serotonin, you're gonna get a totally different response. I never even knew that, and I now understand why I have succulents. Never even knew that. I'm so drawn to them.
Yeah.
I'm drawn to them for their mystical look. So think about all of the things that you're good at. And really like go from sublime to the ridiculous. Photography, some people are really good at finances, some people are good at painting. In terms of some of the things that you can be paid for, think of the problems that you solve. You probably solve a lot of problems for friends and family and you don't even realize it. And of course, you're not going to charge them. But there's probably other things that you do that you don't even realize that you could be paid for. And I'm going to give you a wild example of something that happened with one of my students. She's not still doing this work, but she actually was able to pay some bills as a result of this and as a result of doing this exercise. And then obviously the last thing is, like really what does the world need? We've kind of talked about that. The hope is that at the end of this, that you actually put it together and you start to see the correlation. So this is what I say to everybody. After you do it, you literally lay the 4 charts down on the table. And I have to do this. I can't actually do it any other way. So you lay the 4 charts down and you take a look at them. And you kind of take this bird's eye view. And then you go for a walk. And when you come back, the hope is that you are going to, or you do it at night before you go to bed. And then you let your head come, and then you let your mind, maybe you don't have the whole bottle of wine, maybe just have a glass of wine. And you let your mind ruminate on it. And then you wake up in the morning and you take a look at it.
Love that.
And what you actually find is that the stars start to align and they start to connect. And as we start to connect them, you actually start to see that what you love to do and some of the things that you can be paid for and what the world needs are actually start to connect. And that your passion points allow you to be paid for that. Not everybody's going to open up a succulent store. Not everybody is going to help creative people. So there's something within you that is drawing you to that. The reason that I start off with this framework is because we're here because you're trying to figure out work-life balance, but at the end of the day, you're also just trying to figure out how to grow and manage your business. If you were all making a few $1 million, this conversation would be different. Let's just call it, because you would have brought in the resources. So growing your business is still a big part of this. This actually triggers incremental ideas on how you can teach, how you can open other doors that you might not have thought of. And that's why I start off with this, because it just helps ground you in what you're doing and hopefully expand your thought. Go for it.
Yeah, I was thinking about how many people have already kind of established the what do I do and why do I do it and that sort of thing. But what I find this helpful for is when we have a list of tasks to do, is it aligning with these things? Because we think we need to be doing all those little things. It can help hone the actual priorities of what we're
100%.
focusing on with our minimum time, right?
100%. And we're going to talk about
Oh,
that with,
I
no,
think
you're
you can.
great. I love that. No, it's great. No, don't ever stop talking. Keep talking. I love that. Maybe at some point you could sing your thoughts.
To the moment.
There we go. Wow, I opened a door there, guys. I opened a Pandora.
Sorry, she's
Yeah.
right.
So the reason that I have you do this is obviously to expand your thought as you're thinking about your different businesses. So I'm going to give you my crazy example. So I actually had a student who was going to get kicked out of her house and didn't know how, like her mother was like, you're going to have to pay rent or you're going to get kicked out, had a myriad of disabilities. So actual physical impediments, not necessarily visible to us, but internal that it didn't allow her to like work at a Walmart or a McDonald's or Tim Hortons where she was going to be lifting and or on her feet excessively. That said, phenomenal gamer. Phenomenal gamer. Not really a surprise as I say that, but that's part of some of that generation. Phenomenal gamer. And what she was doing, and very creative in that world. Not actually creative in the same way in the marketing world or anything like that, but very creative in that world. She started to create an avatar for herself, and this avatar could do absolutely everything. Could sing, dance, make noise, had different hair colors, had all these things. So somebody who is gaming against her says, can you make me one? She's like, sure, I'll make you one. Somebody else says, can you make me one? She's like, sure, make you one. Now she realizes, oh, I could actually charge for that. So she comes to school and she's like, okay, the third person has asked me to make, I did the first two for free. How much should I charge? I'm like, how many hours is this taking you? Like, is it this like a 15-minute thing or is this, she's like, oh, it could take me 4, 6, 8 hours. Depends on what they want. I'm like, girlfriend. So she actually created a business model and started creating these crazy avatars and was able to now start contributing and paying her bills. So this is because she went through this. And literally did not see any of the opportunities that I'm gonna be employed for the rest of my life. I can't work at Tim Hortons, I can't do anything. And then figured it out by, again, taking that step back and seeing opportunities that she didn't see. So that's why I share this as one of the frameworks, only because I think sometimes, even if you put your business through this lens, you're going to see things that you didn't necessarily see. And I say to everybody, like, don't, like, and you shook your head to me when I said it, don't just do it and then stand there and look for the solution. Do it, walk away and ruminate, because actually your mind is going to help you see things that you didn't see, and or invite a cheerleader, so somebody who actually has your back, to sit with you and take a look at it. Because I have actually found that my clients, many of them don't see it. They think, I gotta quit my job, I gotta stop doing what I'm doing, and I'm like, no, actually there's like a window here where you can actually take that to the next level. So that is the method to the madness in the very first framework. So the other thing that I'm going to share with you as you do this framework is it's continuous. And I would say that actually is true with all of them. But as we sit here in the room, your purpose 5 years ago, certainly not the same as your purpose now. Like we're constantly evolving. So this entire process is meant to be evolutionary, not revolutionary. And so as you do it, like I find I'm constantly updating and you learn new things about yourself. You're gonna walk out, you're not the same person that walked in here. So constantly iterate, and these are meant to be living, breathing models. So let's talk about this next one. This is the impact map. And so let me tell you why I created this. I created this because somewhere, somehow, somebody said you have to have multiple income streams. I was like, oh my God, how many income streams do I actually have? And then how many do I need? And how do I do this while managing and being a mom and making all this happen? How do I actually lay this out? And how do I prioritize my time? Because I only have 24 hours in a day. Yeah. And I was like, I actually don't know how I'm going to do this. So I created this model, and I've gone on to share it / modify it each time I share it, because it is different for every single one of you. And it was obviously it's even different for me, but I created it because my key issue was that everybody was asking me, and in our Grow Your Biz advisory boards, every single woman says, I don't have enough hours in the day. And this the whole balancing act. And I tell everybody, I don't believe in the balancing act. So I got to be honest with you. I don't think there is any such thing as a balancing act. I think truthfully that it's a dance. And specifically as entrepreneurs, I think it's a constant state of blur. That's my personal opinion. So, and I actually, so I did this to make you guys laugh. I think it's a combination of ballet where it's highly precise. I think there's a little bit of rock where there's disruption and the ups and downs. And then I think there's country where there's this lovely, I love country music for that lovely storytelling. So I think sometimes it's a mashup of all of them, all in the same moment, you know? So here's the mashup of all of them in all in the same moment. So I will send this to you as an Excel spreadsheet. The first page of the spreadsheet that I'm going to send you looks like this. The second page is blank, and it's a little bit cleaner, and you can modify it. That's the beauty of Excel. So let me share with you the intent here. So let's go down the side here. So the intent is that you understand that you have one or more businesses, and for some people, I will actually put in their business and potentially their role, because so I will put in that they are a partner in a retail company, they're a mother, they are a daughter, as somebody who manages all of her mother's finances and retirement. So I will put in different roles, because sometimes your enterprise is less about your businesses and more about your roles because of the way you're pulled in different directions. So it really does depend on the person. So I'm going to leave that up to you guys and have some of that foresight and expression. You lay it across the top what those different businesses are as an example. And then what is your role in those? So are you the kingpin? Are you just a player? Are you the primary person responsible? What is your particular role? And this is how you define it, not what's on the piece of paper. This is how you define it. So in your household, as an example, are you the kingpin that makes all the decisions? Like identify that, you know, or are you a partner in that and you co-make all the decisions? Really depends. And then what is the role in your life? So in this particular case, it's all business focused. Obviously, there are times when, as I've shared, it has your other life responsibilities in here. So obviously, in all cases, we do things and we enter into these businesses because we gotta make money, we gotta sustain our lives, so that is the primary role. The next piece that I put in here is who are the target audiences, because obviously we're constantly working these businesses, so what is their primary, and it might vary across the business streams. So you actually identify that, so this is kind of like your strategy on one page for your entire enterprise, for you personally. What is your vision for these? So with each of the businesses that you're in, what is your goal? Is your goal to create this amazing global tutoring company, or is it to create a nice Ontario-based tutoring company? Is it to, solve all the problems of the world for creative artists? Or is it to focus in and like whatever it is, whatever that, so I call it a BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. Whatever that big vision is, that big impact statement that you want to have, what is that for each of the businesses that you're in, and why does it exist? Why have you actually gone into this? Where this has actually been super important is that I have had clients, as a result of going through this process, divest. They've actually shut things out. So they've actually said, I'm not gonna do that anymore. Because in the spirit of laying it all out, it was actually sucking their spirit. That doesn't mean that you can give up and orphan your kids.
Just one of them.
Yes, okay. Sometimes I feel that way too.
Yeah.
That's very real. Depends on the day.
Yeah, my mom would say, I don't have any favorites. Well, you have 8 to choose from and it better be me.
My doctor has 3 kids and he used to say, my favorite depends on the moment. So it's the person who's least pissing me off in that moment. I was like, that's fair.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I buy into that. So obviously, really think about like, what is the vision for each of these that is important to you? And then the difference between your vision and your mission. So your vision is that big goal that you have for yourself. How you really want to grow this business. Your mission is the work that you do every single day that leads up to actually making that vision happen. So are you happy with the work that you're doing? Because one obviously leads to the other, and that's where it kind of leads back to that purpose work that we've really just done. Because the truth is, this is the carrot. This is the process getting to that carrot. These are the seeds that we're planning to get there. I always put my values in here. So the reason that I ask everybody to put their values in, and honestly, I give everybody a values chart and I check off all of them and I'm like, yeah, I hear ya. Good that you have all those values, but you've got to pick your top 3 to 5. What are your ride or die? And then what I also say to everybody is you need to define it and show and explain how it shows up in your life. Amy and I might both say that we value family. And for me, family means that I have to talk to my kids every single day. They live in 3 different countries and 3 different time zones. I'll put that out there, but that we all come together for family holidays, that we try and have a meal together X amount of times, all that sort of thing. So that's what it could mean for me. Amy, on the other hand, could say, I got to talk to my mom once a week. I'd like to have dinner with her every 2 weeks. It could have a totally different definition. And I am not passing judgment on either definition. The importance of being clear on your definition is that we're drawn to somebody because their values. We're also drawn away from that person because automatically Amy's going to say family is one of my values. And I'm going to be like, I love that about you. That's why there's a connection between us. But then when we dive deeper and a year from now, when we're divorced, it's because your definition and my definition of that value didn't take us to the same place, didn't show up the same way in our lives. So that's why I think it's important to really know your values and your definition and how it shows up in your life and use that as your own measure. And again, on my part, no judgment on that, because it really grounds everything. It grounds every decision that you're going to make. Are you going to, in your RSPs or your TFSAs, are you going to invest in Rothman's, Benson and Hedges? Are you going to invest in cannabis? Are you going to invest in Tom's shoes or something else? You know what I mean? So it's going to show up in all the decisions that you make and how you really grow your business, people you choose to work with, hire, etc., products you carry. In addition to that, I put key objectives. And so the objectives are twofold. So one set of objectives is the actual word objective. And so to go back to your days in school, when you had SMART objectives where they were specific, measurable, achievable, they were actually going to, provide a return on investment. They were time sensitive. If you don't put those metrics in place, honestly is kind of like, I don't wanna say garbage in, garbage out, because that's not true. But it doesn't give us something to constantly measure and work towards. It's one thing to say, I wanna lose weight, it's another thing to say, I need to lose 10 pounds. 10 pounds gives us a number, I need to lose 10 pounds by this day. So to lose weight is like, well, I don't really care, and I do care, but I'm gonna do it over this time, and that just means I'm gonna eat carrots today, but I might eat that whole pie tomorrow. So it's important that we add the metrics to it and then actually put in the targets. So the reason that we actually put in, so I put in my actuals as just to give a barometer as to what I actually did that year, and you can have as many years as you want. And then what is your actual target for the year that you're in? Because now I'm gonna say, how am I prioritizing my time? I only have 24 hours in a day. So now knowing this, and this, you can do this for your business initiatives, and then what I also put down here, is I did put down my family. But what I really wanna understand is now, like, which of these businesses are the businesses that I need either for my income, or I need them because they're a passion project, or whatever the case may be. So, and you have to be disciplined on this, you have to decide what's my number one. Because that means right now, if you only have an hour today to spend on your business, where are you gonna allocate that hour? And sometimes that is all we have, is to allocate. So how do we actually prioritize? The only way that you can prioritize is to have a system of metrics. You have to be able to measure where you need to put your time. Now, I'm not gonna leave you guys at this. There's other things that we're gonna use that are gonna complement this. But this is a very good way of at least saying, I gotta make X amount of money, or I gotta cover this, because at the end of the day, if we didn't all have to cover bills, come on, we wouldn't go to work, let's be honest. But we do have certain things that we have to cover. So what is the path of least resistance where I need to spend my time? Because this also says, if I have an opportunity to have that hour to grow my business, where should I be spending the time to grow my business? So this actually happens to be a case for a client that I work with. This is her passion project, but it was also the number one place where she was spending her time. But it was also sucking her dry financially. So as we went through this process, she kind of realized, I need to hire somebody over here. We actually hired somebody to run this so that she can get in and out of it, and it can be her passion project, because over here she needs to make some money, because this is actually losing money. So as we went through this, it was like, oh my God, there was this aha moment I love that, but that is not a good use of my time. And as a result, my business over here is suffering, and I'm doing this business at 12, 1, 2, 3 in the morning. That's why I'm not sleeping, because I gotta try and get it done, because I gotta make up for these losses over here, but I love being here during the day, because I get to talk to people, blah, blah, blah. So we altered all of that as a result of this chart. The other thing that we added is, I did add age here, because I think you gotta kind of know, where do you stand? Where's your health and well-being and all of that? But then I also added down here, your own age, your partner's age, and your dependents. Because at some point, your dependents are less dependent financially, they're more dependent emotionally. I'm gonna tell you that, girlfriend.
Oh,
The emotional part's still there, but the financial part, I haven't given my kids money except for holidays and birthdays in a few months now. But no, I'm kidding. They'd hit me if they heard me say that. But they're all financially independent. So, but that's, when you have you haven't even had kids yet. So when that does happen, we gotta understand at what point are they launched technically, and they might come back, but for all intents and purposes, you're not physically responsible for them in the same way every single day. So the purpose of this is not to necessarily solve your problems. It is to identify the opportunities to reevaluate the allocation of your time. And through that awareness, you begin to solve the problem. But you literally lay this out exactly as, here's the facts. And then you go from there. So obviously, when I send it to you guys, you can modify it as you so wish. This is what the second page looks like, so it's totally blank. There are some formulas in there to make your life easier, but you can also take them out, like it's whatever you like. And obviously, the other thing that I always put in here, and I say this to everybody, is even if you don't have any money and we're all older except for the two of you. I am a big proponent of, I don't care if you put $10 aside a week, $10 aside a month. I don't care, but you have to start investing.
I wish I had,
Exactly.
seriously. Because your $10 with compound interest
Yeah.
becomes interest on $11, interest on $12, interest on, you know.
So I say this to all my students. I have had multiple presentations. I said it to you, as you and Nolan were starting. So I pushed my own children to start, whether they have kept it up. I can honestly tell you, only one of them, 1 out of 3, but I'm 1 out of 3. I'll take it, but you have to contribute and just put it, you know, everybody says pay yourself first. It's really hard to do that, and I totally get it. But honestly, I don't even care if it's $5. But the more you can do it, the better.
Can it
And
be
so
a pup-
that's why it's always here.
Can it be a puppy?
I believe
Kind of did buy them. I've never taken a paycheck, but I have got.
they're cost
or
centers. They're cost centers.
Okay.
I know that you would like to think that they're assets, but those puppies that you have are liabilities. Yeah.
That's true. That's what I'm gonna say.
Well, in your particular case, your dogs are actually bringing people into the store. So there
right
is a
off the
whole
top.
other health and well-being thing that's happening in your store.
Yeah.
That I think you need to talk about. I think that is actually the essence of your store. That is maybe something that you could probably wave a flag a little bit more loudly about in your socials and in a lot of the things that you're promoting. It's not just about coming in and buying succulents. That is very
It's an
true.
experience.
It's not just retail, it's
Exactly.
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 Exactly. So I think there's a lot more going
I
on
would
in
like
there.
having major plans.
So this is there and it's totally blank for you. So I wanted to put this up because here's the big challenge with what I just shared with you. Is that we have these big, hairy, audacious goals that we have, and we're trying to manage them, which is why I'm gonna go this way, which is why I shared this tool with you. Which means that we are constantly striving, which means that unfortunately, we fail to live often in the moment. And where our values are intended to ground us, it's really hard to figure out how you live in the moment so that you're constantly working towards that carrot that you have and that big, hairy, audacious dream. But at the same time, you're savoring every day. So let me share with you guys. So as you guys know, there is a dash between the day you're born and unfortunately the year that you pass. We all know that. That dash, as you guys know, is the most valuable dash in our life. So I'm going to tell you an exercise that I did, and I'm going to plant the seed with you guys to actually think about this. And as opposed to me sharing it as a eulogy, I've tried to put a more slightly uplifting spin on it. Think of it as a manifesto. And I now use it as a manifesto. So when shortly after my husband and I separated, and you need to know, I was the person who didn't know. So I really didn't know there was anything going on. I truly did love this man. Now we're best friends now. Taken a bit of time to get there, but we honestly are best friends. We probably talk to each other once or twice a day, which is rather ironic. Zero connection in any other way, but we're now properly raising our children together, which is ironic because again, they don't really need us in that way anymore. Could have done better. But at the time when I truly fell apart in all of this, and I was CEO of this amazing marketing agency. So I have all of this work that we're doing, and I'm trying to raise the 3 kids. So I'm torn in 15 different directions. And honestly, I'm a neurotic mess. So, obviously I have a little bit of ADD or ADHD, whatever they have. I'm a little bit type A, obviously a little bit obsessive compulsive, all the things, all those good attributes, I got them all. I got the whole package. And I'm trying to raise these kids and run this company, and I'm not sleeping because how do you do it all, right? You don't sleep. So you're having coffee, you're taking the Tylenol, your son greets you at the door with a handful of almonds and an amaretto on ice when you come home. And I was like, okay, something needs to change. Because he was like, I need you to take a chill pill so that you can be my mom, because I actually need you. And I'm like, okay, that's very telling. He's like, I know this is what you do when you come home, so you calm down. And I was like, oh, that's gotta stop. So I took a Robin Sharma course, and it was 48 hours to change your life. And I was like, fuck this, I gotta change my life. So day one, do you know who Robin Sharma is? Okay, so Robin Sharma is actually Canadian. You know who Robin is because you've heard the story. So Robin is Canadian and he's a big proponent of the 5 a.m. club. I'm a proponent of the thinking. I'm a 5 a.m.er, not the same religious way that he is, but nonetheless. He's written The Everyday Hero, a lot of different books, phenomenal books. The 5 a.m. club is the one I would recommend. It is like going back to school though. So you have to kind of read it more than once and you definitely write notes in it. So I take his course and on the Friday, it's all, sunshine and roses. It's all good. And we're learning about ourselves. Great. Saturday morning, we come in and it's definitely slightly more serious. We have our first session at 9 o'clock. All good. 10 o'clock, he's like, okay, everybody clear off all your tables. Shut off your phones. And his team walks around and hands us 3 pieces of paper, a pen, and an envelope to each person. And he says, we're going to do an exercise that you probably haven't done before. And I'm like, holy mackerel. And a single mom, I don't like turning off my phone, but I'm like, oh dear God. So I text them first. I got to turn off my phone for 30 minutes. And it's like, you're all going to write your eulogy.
Oh, God.
100%. And he puts on Live Like You're Dying, the Tim McGraw song. And he's got that playing and he's got all this soul searching music. So needless to say, we're all writing our eulogy and the tears are running down our cheeks. I'm not going to ask you to write your eulogy. You're very welcome. Because it is painful. So that is why I have transitioned this to, I'd like you to write your manifesto, but I want you to think about it from the perspective of what is the legacy that you want to leave? How do you want to be remembered? And look at your roles. How do you want to be remembered as a daughter, as a mother, as a partner, as a sister, as a brother, as an owner? Look at all your different roles and really think about how you want to be remembered. So why is this so important? It's important because then as you reflect, is that how you're actually showing up? Are you actually showing up as, I want to be a great partner for Nolan. I want him to know that, he walks through the door. I'm actually excited to see him and that I give him a hug. That's what I want him to reflect back. And so are you doing that? Are you? Not right now. I can only say this because I know Nolan. But are we actually showing up the way that we would like other people to reflect that we showed up that way? So when Amy sees me, I want Amy to be excited to see me. So if I'm thinking about Amy's response, am I actually doing it so that, when Amy sees me, I'm like, hey, Amy, like I'm so excited to see you. And I can actually feel that she's excited to see me because I've shown up in that particular way, as an example. So it is a very powerful exercise. What it does is it grounds you in the moment that you're in, because that's all that is about. Versus your enterprise management is all about where you're going. Your goals, your milestones for your goals, the things that we're going to talk about in your calendar are all the direction that you are striving towards things. So what actually makes sure that as we're sitting here today, we're actually like enjoying each other's company right now, that we're actually fully present right here, not looking at our phones and enjoying each other and like frowning like there's no more.
No what?
Frowning like there's no more. She's still thinking about which kid she's given up today.
No, I already know that. I've known it for 8 years.
Love it. Wait, this poor kid, we gotta get this kid the heads up. I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding. So the reason that I find this exercise so powerful is that is what actually gives us the balance. Is that it helps you find the tipping point. So when I go back to this chart here, it helps you balance between your goals and the kind of legacy that you want to leave behind, the way you want to be remembered. So when I do a lot of this work in corporations. And so what I actually do is I have them think about the performance review they want a peer to give them. What do you want them to say? What do you want your kids to say about you? What do you want your husband to say about you? And in some cases, we might have a bunch of relationships where we say, I don't give a shit what they say. That's fine. That's not a relationship that's important to you. So it's only the relationships that are your do or die, the ones that really matter to you. And are you showing up for them? It matters to me what my mom says about me. And so if God forbid, my mom would probably have a heart attack if one of us died before she did. But at the same time, she'd be like, I want her to say, this is how I This is what I think of Nicole. And so. Am I showing up so that she would actually say that? That's why this is so important. So I think I've kind of shared the importance of this one. So what I did do is have all of you heard this poem?
No.
The Dash?
Yeah.
Some of you have, some of you haven't. Okay. So I don't know if I can get rid of that. Can I get rid of that little thing? So that I can.
Minimize it, that's minimize.
Think if I do that? No. Think if I drag it?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's always a way.
Should have that a long time ago. So I apologize, I gotta stand here. So the dash is actually something that is often read at celebrations of life. So I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted first came the date of the birth and spoke the following date with tears, but he said what mattered most of all was the dash between the years. For that dash represents all the time that they spent life on earth, and now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel. Be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about you and how you spent your dash? So I leave that with you guys to ponder as your balancing act between what you're striving for and how you want to show up every day. And for me, this has been a key point in when I start to go off kilter, I kind of go, okay, I got to bring myself back on kilter. So I'm obviously not going to have you work through that manifesto today. I'm going to leave that for you to think about. And I've given you blank pages in there to work with. So I'm going to let you guys do that. And I've given you some extra thought. So now we're going to talk about time. And we're going to talk about time and your time management in a couple of different ways. It's 11:20, so now I'm realizing I have to stop telling you stories and you have to stop being nice and conversing with me. So we're going to do a couple of things as we talk about time management. And we're going to talk about vibe. So I was actually listening to a podcast, and in listening to the podcast, you guys all know you have ebbs and flows in your own energy level, let alone in a month, let's be honest. But also in a day, in a week, we all have like peaks and valleys throughout the day. And we talk about it, but do we actually scientifically look at it and now use it to our advantage? And so my feeling was, I actually knew in myself, I knew that I had these peaks and valleys, but I wasn't actually really looking at it from a clinical research perspective and now optimizing it. So I actually discovered this about 3 months ago, and I have actually started to make significant changes. So I really think about what lights me up, what doesn't light me up during the day, what gives me energy, what drains me, who drains me. And so therefore, because you still have to connect with those people who drain you, but now you can pick a time when they drain you. So super ugly chart, it's in here, super ugly. So you do this for 1 week. You do a 1 week test because the 1 week is pretty good. And so this is how it works.
Are you sending this too? Because it's way too tiny.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna send you everything electronically.
Okay.
So I'm gonna send them as attachments 100%. But I want you to see what it is. So across the top, it's obviously got the 7 days of the week. Easy for us to understand. And within each one, there's just 2 columns. So it's meant to be basic. And it's your task, whatever you've done, any food you've consumed in that time period, or if you've taken any supplements, if you've done exercise, whatever it is. And then rate your own energy level. And you decide like is what 1 looks like, only you can decide, and what 10 looks like. By the way, I hardly had any 10s, just gonna share. Yeah, so you decide, and I literally go from 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. So you've got the full spectrum. You do this for 1 week. And then what you do is you take that bird's eye view yet again. And you take a look at where your energy was high, where your energy was low, and what are the patterns that you see. So I am going to selfishly take your time and just explain to you what I learned about myself. So I love to write. I write every single day. And if I get up in the morning and I am in a writing vibe, I am actually like in a really good mood. There's something about sitting there, having my coffee and writing, and I can literally pound for hours. If I get up in the morning and I see that I can't write, or that I have to have a meeting, or I have to be somewhere at 9 or 10 o'clock, I am a biatch. Cause I'm like, oh my God, and now if I'm actually, I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna give myself an hour. And now I'm writing for that hour, and now I'm on the roll, and now I'm like, fuck, I gotta get in the shower, and I gotta do this and that. So I actually get resentful. I get resentful of different things. So that's one piece. The other piece is that we have parts of our work that are high intensity, high thought. So you have to do some work where you've really got to focus and you got to be in it. When do we do that work as women? 11 o'clock at night. Probably not our best time to do that work, but that's when the house is quiet, right? And everybody's not bugging you. But that might not be when your best self is best suited to do some of that work. So it's then looking at, when was my high intensity, high brain power time? When was I really in it to win it and I could really focus? Conversely, when were the times when it was like I had that low? That's when you answer those emails. The bullshit email, your response to Hydro, yes, sorry, I forgot to pay your bill, pay it right now. All those things, right? You send somebody flowers, you make the dinner reservation. Those don't require a lot of our energy. We all do that very turnkey. So that's what you do for me, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
When I'm having a bit of that lull, I save it. Really hard for us to save work as women, very hard. But I am going to tell you, this has been a game changer for me, dramatically increased my own spirit, because now I'm like enjoying what I'm writing and nothing's going to bug me. And I'm also like saying that can actually wait. That is actually, just because it's a do or die for you doesn't mean it's do or die for me. You don't actually have to know this right now. You know, you didn't have to respond at 10 o'clock on Friday night. You know what I mean? You did, but you know, that turned off your vibe and now you're resentful. And yet this is what earns an income for you. So you need to respond. But if you'd really waited till 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock Saturday morning, you know, like, we're not saving lives. Like, let's be honest, we're not doctors, we're not and nurses, we're not saving
But what
lives.
if you're just constantly questioning yourself like you're going to forget something?
Write it down.
You know, like
We're gonna talk about that.
Systems.
We're gonna write it down.
Yeah.
We're gonna write it down. I have to write things down. I'm old.
To
You're
me,
old,
like-
girlfriend. You gotta write it down.
I know, I got a problem with my memory. But the thing is, it's like it's really good memory, it's just very short.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is that for me, like, okay, you're on your phone, somebody messages you. Okay, they're not respecting that this is my time at night, I'm not open. So then to go and write it down,
No, you're not respecting you because you looked at it.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, buddy.
son of a bitch. I knew it was gonna be my fault.
I want to hug you as I say that.
Yes.
But let's be honest.
Making me old and then.
Yeah.
I know.
I'll have 2 hugs for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Don't look great.
You know, we're really bad at like, everybody talks about boundaries. I hate the word boundaries.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you know, my ex-husband texted me last night at 11 o'clock and I went, oh. And part of me is like, hey, as an aging mother, she had like a heart attack last week, like blah, blah, blah. She thought she had a heart attack. She actually didn't, but she thought she did. Italian dramatic. Yes. Please God, I have to edit this video. But so I'm even dissing myself, buddy. I'm throwing myself under the bus.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, so I was like, is everything okay? Can this wait till the morning? It turns out it actually couldn't wait till the morning, so there was a family issue.
Okay.
So, you know, now you deal with the family issue and you don't sleep all night, but
Exactly.
but that's my legacy. My number one thing is being a mom and being there for my ex-partner and being there for my children. So I go back to this.
What about if that's not your legacy?
Then you don't even, you just leave it. So my legacy is not, if one of my coaching clients is suddenly like, I need to ask you questions about tariffs right now. That can wait till tomorrow. That's not my legacy.
Yeah.
I can wait. You know, that can definitely wait. I'm discreet, you know, I have I have WhatsApp groups with my students. And I'm like, that's great, you're all fine. I have students who text me at 2 in, you know, I'm really worried I'm not gonna get my assignment in. I don't look that. Like, that they need to tell me. Because they need to, and so I'm there, and I understand that, because my legacy is to be there for them. But my legacy is not to be there for them at 2 in. My legacy is to be a good prof and have their backs. So that's their mechanism for me having that, but I can put the boundary of, doesn't mean I have to respond to it at 2 in.
That's such a good point. We have to
Yeah.
wean ourselves off of the Pavlov system we work within. That you hear a ding, you've got to look.
Yeah.
No, you don't. Once you start doing that, there's freedom.
Another thing too is that there's a social aspect of that, like the person that I've talked to the most today and has taken up the most amount of my time is my girlfriend in Castleton, you know, and what are we talking about? Did you sleep good? I'm going camping. Did you get more fudge? You know,
Yeah,
but it's also feeding that side of me that wants the friendship and the normalcy that way.
there's
You
nothing
know?
wrong with that. So that's a value. And part of your legacy. For you, that's actually an important piece of inspiring and motivating you every day. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with
At
that. So I
11
think,
o'clock at night, do you have 6-inch? This is with whatever
No.
is not a priority,
No,
right?
I understand that. And
Yeah.
my sound is off for that kind of notification
Yeah.
and stuff. Anyway, it's only during the night, it's only emergency contact kind of thing.
exactly.
So,
I got
Yeah,
you.
exactly. So I think, so we're gonna talk more about, so let me just share this with you. So this is what I've actually done. I coach clients now at certain times of the day. I meet with my students only at certain times of the day. I write on certain days unencumbered. So I don't meet with anybody on Tuesday or Monday. It depends on the week, but I actually will chart off a bunch of time. And I don't meet now. I have a virtual assistant. And I normally talk to her either at 5:30 in the morning or at 6:30 in the morning every day. And so I'll say to her, I'm not gonna talk to you tomorrow. Cause that's my day to do my, like, she knows this in advance. And so I'll literally write and create a bunch of my content and do some of my thinking and some of my planning, etc. But I just write, cause that's what fuels me. And I literally go off on a tear. So I've also gotten good at just blocking out my days. So I take that big look at my days before I actually commit to everyone else. So I think that's the other thing that we don't do. Of course, there's things in your calendar for next week, next month, next year. Of course there are. But if you can start to take back your calendar as much as possible. Now, easy for me to say, because I don't have kids now in soccer and hockey and all of that sort of stuff. But even then, so I work with a mom. She has her own small business. She has 3 children. Her husband is also self-employed. And so we're 2 weeks out in her calendar at a minimum. And she'll actually like block a day. So now she'll be like, okay, Thursday is my day. And he is 100% responsible for the kids that day. She doesn't make the lunches. She doesn't come home.
Wow.
He's responsible for breakfast, lunch, dinner, everything. She's like, that's my day. And he doesn't know if she's gonna be home, she's not gonna be home,
Doesn't matter.
doesn't matter. That's her day. So it's planned in advance, but at least that's in the calendar. And so sometimes she just uses it to catch up on her admin. Sometimes she goes and gets her nails done. Completely up to her. So the purpose of this is really for you to understand you better. And I'm gonna tell you honestly, it's even changed when I take my vitamins and everything. So it actually has had a huge impact on me. So let's talk about the other 2 things. The other 2 things are your calendar and your bank statements. They are, yeah, gonna make you look at your bank statements. So you have all of these goals on the one hand, you have this legacy on the other hand. If I asked all of you to pull up your calendar, does your calendar reflect your goals and legacy? And do your bank statements reflect your goals and legacy? Because if you looked at your calendar, does it have the milestones in there that are going to help you achieve your annual goals, your growth rates, your trajectory into other areas, into other buildings, other structures? So have you actually mapped that out and put that in your calendar so now you can hold yourself accountable? Have you actually done that? And then on the flip side, have you also, as you have done that, taken that bird's eye view and then balanced off that you want to have, I don't know, lunch with your mother once a week? whatever that is, or with one of your kids once a week and have that date time. And then flip side to that, when you look at your credit card statement or your bank statement, is that a reflection of the financial practices that are going to help you get to your goals? And I'm not sitting here saying like, you know, I hate it when people say, well, you shouldn't be going to Starbucks and you can't do that, like, fuck off. Because honestly, but all that does add up at some point, like, do you know what I mean? Like, do you really need that extra blank?
Yeah.
Or would you rather put that blank into that RSP, TFSA, or not spend it all? And now there's more money at the end of the month, and or there's honestly more relief for you at the end of the month. Whatever it is. So it was very interesting. I am very good auditor of my calendar. I never really thought about the bank statement and the credit card piece. And it came, you know, I'm not sure if I listened to a podcast 5 or 6 years ago on the psychology of money or whatever it was. And it was like, oh my God, your values are reflected right in your bank statement. What really matters to you is in your bank statement. I'm going to tell you right now, I love my kids too much. Because I look at it and I'm going, oh, that's Johnny, that's Gabe, that's Mariah, and I'm like, oh my God, do you know what I mean? So then, but it actually makes you kind of take that step back.
So the bank statement reflects your
Values.
values.
Your
Yeah.
money or your life is a book that goes into this very.
Your money or your life?
Yeah.
Okay.
It has you track everything you're spending in accordance to how it matches to your values.
And it's tough to do.
It's a reality check.
It is a reality check. And I didn't want to give you guys like yet another tool, but so I actually tracked all of my spending. I have my students doing it as an exercise for 1 week. I was like, track
Yeah.
all your spending just for an entire week. And then just tell me, is that going to ladder up to you achieving the life that you want?
Do the same with your time. Track your time and
Track
where
your
are you
time.
putting it and where does it fall? Is it aligning with what you want?
100%. So let's be honest, at no point has anybody in your life ever said, do you want to meet at the bar and talk about time management? Right? Nobody's ever said that. Is the least sexy conversation ever. I admit that. But I feel like every conversation that I have with my coaching clients often comes back to time management. And honestly, with women, the board meeting, so I've had 2 board meetings this week. Top of the list was time management. What time management tools are you using? How are you using them? So I'm going to tell you honestly what I use. So I use 2 tools. I use my online calendar and I use a day timer. And obviously the 2 of them go with me everywhere. So my day timer is right here. And my kids would say I'm old school. And now they use the same 2 tools.
Analog.
Yeah, analog. So let me share the online meeting and appointment calendar. Oh, well, that's a funny little thing. It is everything that is scheduled. So online is everything that is by appointment. You open the store at 9, closes at 5. You have a tutoring appointment, you have a doctor's appointment, you have a birthday. It is all of your appointments. That's what your online is. Your offline is your to-do list.
Okay.
It's I gotta do this today, I gotta do that today. And so mine is tasks. So I actually you can see I actually clip it after I get to a certain point, but I literally write in and I have Post-it notes and everything of all my to-dos for each day. So that it is all in 2 places, but both go with me everywhere. And I am also the Post-it note queen. If you follow me on my socials, I actually am the Post-it note queen. But I always have Post-it notes with me so that I can actually just drop it into my day timer so that I don't forget. Because I'm like you, girlfriend, we're of the same ilk.
Funny thing. So if you've seen the color purple,
Yes.
okay, so you know when the sister's teaching Whoopi Goldberg to read and she has all of the Post-its with the names of what they're stuck to?
Yeah.
I walked into my bathroom yesterday and there were 3 Post-its above my prescriptions. One said AM, one said noon, one said PM. I'm like, okay, he did explain this to me. So why did he have to put Post-its up? Does he think I'm stupid? And then I'm like, fuck it, I'm taking the new ones with me. And he'll wonder whether or not I really took them. I'm not coming home to take my pills. And anyway, this is the price you pay when you hate doing your dosettes. He does them for me. And I'm just like, so maybe the notes are for him.
100%, but maybe that's love, maybe that's his sign
Yeah.
of love, maybe
Yeah,
that's
sure
his
it
love
is.
language. You know,
Maybe,
it's entirely possible. And what I would say to you honestly is I think we need some of these tools because of the filing cabinets.
yeah.
I think the filing cabinets, as you age, overflow.
That's
And I think
funny, I
it's
just
really
grabbed a
hard.
bunch of Post-it notes because I didn't have any at the store.
So my feeling is this is just an incremental way, and I admit, like, there are, you know, my kids will say, God bless you. I use my notes, I use this, I use that, and I'm gonna tell you, I rarely forget something. And gotta be honest, they forget things. And so they are, you know, cause we feel like we can't afford to forget. So these multiple tools are really intended to be that safeguard. I'm not gonna tell you it's a perfect world, but there isn't a perfect world. The perfect world is actually having somebody who follows us and does everything for us, doesn't exist yet. Oh, was that you, Amy? Oh, here we go. Oh, wow.
Post-it note.
Didn't mean to do that. Okay, so let me tell you how I manage the day timer as well. So I am a big fan, obviously I use it daily as my daily requirements of the things I have to do, but I plan my weeks all at once. And then I add things in each day as it comes up. So as you know, I said to you, I have income properties, so all of a sudden I got a sinkhole in one of my driveways. So obviously I gotta deal with that sooner as opposed to later. I didn't have that as an issue yesterday, it's an issue today, so I gotta deal with it today or tomorrow. So that gets added to the list. It doesn't go into my online calendar, it goes into here. So to make sure I get it done, and while I'm driving, I call the guy. My month at a glance rather, really allows me to take a look at, okay, what am I doing on what days? And I don't put my online meetings in there. This is more my bigger perspective of, okay, these are my weekends, these are the days, is anything going on, and how have I now incorporated in my goals? Because where do you put your goals? Where do you put that, you know, I wanna buy a house by December of 2025 for the sake of argument. So I gotta talk to the mortgage broker this month. I gotta start figuring out the neighborhood next month. Where do you put those? So I put those in the side column on my month at a glance as I break out the milestones. And I'm like, okay, have I actually done those? So I am that anal that I actually do that. But what I do find is it clears the clutter in my head. Because now I've actually given it a time and space. I've paid it its due respect. I put it in there and now I'm not gonna forget about it. It does mean that I might have to make adjustments. So, you know, sometimes I'll give myself a deadline and all hell breaks loose. So I will make the adjustment. But at least now I'm making the adjustment with conscious awareness and intent, which is huge. Obviously, the year at a glance. So all of you set objectives for your stores, for your lives, etc. on an annual basis. Ideally, you then break that into months. And so the intent is, as we're in the first quarter of the year, we've just passed it. How are we doing? Are we doing that check-in? And so annually, like I literally am checking it, not so much weekly, but definitely monthly, and then quarterly, and then annually. Because it all adds up over time. And we would do this if you guys were all in corporate jobs, you would do this. You would get paid to do this. And if you didn't do it, you'd get fired. So so the hard part is putting the disciplines in place for yourself when you are self-employed, because then you've got, oh my God, now I gotta put these systems in place. But once you put the system in place, it's rinse and repeat, and it actually starts to take care of itself. So I'm not telling you to go like, first of all, I'm not gonna preach by any means, because that's brutal. But if you start to just adopt these practices, it just grows on you. It can be evolutionary versus revolutionary. You don't have to take tomorrow off and do all this work. You can literally each day start putting more and more things in your calendar, more and more things in your day timer, and it gets easier and easier. So I also shared I bet it's gonna have that funny little thing again. There you go, guys. Wow. I don't really know why I did that. That's actually really fun. You probably do. So I actually put in here how I structure my days, and I am actually quite religious about this. So for a non-religious person, I'm a spiritual person, this is how I spend my time. So my Monday mornings are very much my time. They are sacred. I don't really like to be bugged on Monday mornings, and the whole world knows that. And I really take a look at all the things I've got to get done for the week. Ideally, I have done some of that on Friday, so I'm not going, oh my God. But there are times when the oh my gods have come in, and so now I'm doing that planning and I'm setting myself up for success. Each day, obviously, I'm doing the rinse and repeat and getting the work done. And then Fridays, I have a lot of regroup sessions, so I have regroups with my students, regroups with my VA, regroups with everybody, how do we do, and what do we have to get done? And then I do not work on Friday afternoons. If I can help it, I don't work on Friday afternoons, again, that is my time. So that I can set myself up for a nice weekend. So I am working, but I'm not working with external people, so I should share that. I am working with myself in my own box on the work I have to get done. So I'm doing the paperwork, I'm getting things out so that I'm setting people up for next week. I'm getting it off my plate and onto their plate. I'm very good, by the way, at getting things off my plate. So if I can send something out the door, I will send it out the door. My Saturdays, I really try not to work. I'm not always that good at that. I try not to work on Saturdays. That's when I do a lot of my house stuff. Sunday mornings. So I tell everybody I go to church. I really don't go to church, but I definitely, and maybe I should, and I apologize in this room if I'm offending anyone. But I like to stay home on Sundays and I don't even like to go anywhere. And for me, that is my church. That is my sanctuary. I live on a point surrounded by water. So that is really my time to figure my shit out and see what's working and what's not working and do some planning. And that is the bigger picture planning. That is the month out, the next month, the year. How are things looking? Am I happy? Honestly, this is am I feeling fulfilled and all that? Happy is not a word that I tend to use. I tend to use the word fulfilled. Because I think happy has been glamorized and sometimes feels trite. But I think if you feel fulfilled, then you're at peace. And I think with that comes a degree of happiness and grace. So I don't tend to use that word, so you won't actually hear that from me. You'll hear the word fulfilled. And then I've kind of already shared this with you, but I do specifically on the Sundays, try to take a look at that weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual plan. And I do a deep dive on my annual plan usually in December. I usually do it at the end of November, beginning of December. And I am a vision boarder. I am a goals with milestones and plans. Marley knows that because I've made my students do it. So I'm quite religious about that practice in order to keep everything going. Go ahead.
Just a quick question to wrap my brain around it.
Go for it.
So you have an online calendar, I understand that. You have this here in your daily plan. I used to live my whole life was before online calendars. And
Yeah.
I understand that principle. I like the daily one and catch everything up. Sorry, doesn't matter. What's the third step? Because in that calendar, you're not gonna write all your goals and your milestones for the week. Do you have like a third place you put that stuff? And then on the Monday, you say, review the 3 things I want to do for my business on Saturday?
Sure.
Okay, there you go.
So in here,
I figured you had something else because the calendar's not big enough to write all that stuff.
so I'll back up because then you guys can't see it.
Yes,
So this book sits on a shelf like this,
okay,
but it actually has only one set of charts. It's the same as what you guys have. The rest of it is sideways. It's a workbook. And
Awesome.
so in
Okay.
here is how I actually manage my goals. And so to your point, each goal has its own way of being. So it has its own separate chart. So each goal has a chart
good.
and the key milestones. But then I have a cumulative chart. So I give people options as to how they want to break it out. Do you want to break it out by week, by month, by year? Some goals
Awesome.
are short, some goals are long. And I keep that
Okay,
with me. This tends to, so I create it online, but I usually have a copy. I don't have a copy with me today, but I always have a copy. It sits on my desk. And if I'm traveling, it comes with me folded up in my
I
daytime.
was gonna say that because if you're driving and the idea comes to you, I sometimes send a text to myself so that I can go home and
100%.
Put it in my
I
list.
text message myself more than anyone else text messages me. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so the answer to your question is yes.
Good.
Because it all has to come together.
yes,
So I'm not sure. So I have in here what's called the Grand Assembly, which is where everything actually comes together. And you have if you've had corporate experience, we have this thing that we create called the strategy house. So and the strategy house literally looks like a house. So your vision is at the top. Holding your vision, technically like the truss is in a house, is your mission. So that's right under, because your mission delivers your vision. At the very bottom is your values, so your foundation. They are your GPS system, your navigation, but when you're building a house, they are your foundation. The pillars within are your different goals. So just like we are constantly redecorating our homes or making adjustments, that sort of thing, your goals are going to shift. Chances are your vision is going to be, chances are, relatively consistent, except that you're probably going to cross things off the list and evolve it over time. Your mission will potentially evolve because honestly, the work that we're doing today, for many of us in the room, is not the work we were doing 30 years ago. So that's definitely evolved as a result of our own growth and development. And our goals are going to shift. So as they shift, and then we add the new goal in. So one of the exercises that I do in here is I ask everybody to list their goals, but then I say to you, now clump your goals, because a goal could be, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to work out every day. I want to eat organically. We can lump that in together into one holistic goal. And now you lay that out over the course of the year versus having, I've got 5 goals. Well, no, you don't have 5 health goals. It's actually 1 health goal. Let's just figure it out together. And then you map that out.
That's great. Thank
So, yeah, no problem. So I share this with you because this is truly how I manage absolutely everything. And I shared with you about the bank statements. So it was actually quite, I've already kind of planted this seed. It was quite alarming for me when I actually started to look at the bank statements and everything that they said. And it did actually cause me to make some changes because I realized where I am going to honestly say I realized where I was less focused and potentially a bit frivolous. My ex-husband would say totally frivolous. I'm going to say less frivolous. Well,
The kids will say, yes, Mom, you were great.
100%. 100%. And so I now kind of look at, is this a need versus a want? And this is a most versus now. So the theory of most versus now, what do you want most? Versus what do you want right now? So do you really want that holiday? Or do you really want the cup of coffee? Is that, I don't know, it's up to like, so I was in the US to visit my son. I ordered a chai latte. We don't know if you're, it's my like nectar of the gods kind of treat to myself. I've been unpacking him for 2 days. I figured I deserved it. Starbucks, what, $6? Manhattan, $17. I didn't know. I walked in, it was a cute little hole in the wall coffee shop. I was like, they were like, chai latte, do you want an extra shot of espresso? Sure. I tap and I see it's like, I don't know, $11. And I went, holy fuck, guys, I didn't even get food. I literally went, and at this point, I'm like, it's too late. She's already made it. Like, I got to just walk away. With the exchange, it came in at $17.42. Needless to say, I now make my coffee at his condo and walk out. With my coffee. Yeah, not buying any coffee off the street. It wasn't even that good. That's the hard part. So the most versus now is I just think something like, what do I really want the most? And is this going to jeopardize that? Like what I want right now or not? Because I still think we have to treat ourselves right now. I still think we have to do things that make our life nice. I'm going to tell you honestly, like, so I go to therapy today. So I'm going to tell you, it is expensive therapy and the best therapy I've ever had. I don't know if you've ever heard of this place called the Silver Barn in Wellington. It's you go and I take ceramic lessons. I am gonna touch, she puts on jazz music, she makes a pot of coffee. There's about 6 to 8 of us. I am gonna tell you, it is the best therapy that I have. I'm telling you, it is the best. So it's totally worth it if you guys are ever, you know. So this is is that actually helping me achieve my long-term goal? No, but I swear to God, right now in this stage of my life, that creative outlet is unbelievable. The payback is unbelievable. I'm a much nicer person. Oh, so, oh my God. So my goal today was to take you through these 5 different frameworks. There's lots more in here. So I am giving you each one of these. So,
Oh, wow.
so the difference between the two. So Life Blueprint was the precursor. So I launched this in 2023 and it hit bestseller in 7 categories on Amazon. I'm super proud of it. Thank you. Thank you. Super excited about that. It has biographical comments in it because I felt like I needed to actually justify why I did this. Now, not so fucking much.
Yeah.
So this is the frameworks. And so literally I was like, I need to be able to give my students and my clients frameworks to work with. And now I'm actually taking this one step further and it's very much focused on this life work blur specifically for founders and entrepreneurs and leaders. Because I actually find that leaders truly think of themselves as entrepreneurs. They're leaders in an organization.
Entrepreneurs.
Yeah, they are. They are entrepreneur. Great word.
Not mine.
Great work.
Musicpreneurs,
And
not
so
mine.
this one, so this, if, as you look at them, there's a lot of synergy between the two. This one is just literally, I literally wanted people to have something where they could write in it right away. And this one, you gotta go in and you gotta download. So, each of you, there's one for each of you before you leave here. Oh, my pleasure. And because, so my mission, my purpose, I truly think that we weren't given a manual. And I think we could have been given a manual, you know, and, you know, I saw all the Mother's Day tributes that went out there and it was like, your manual was your mom. And like, God bless my mom. I know she did her best and God bless me as a mom. I know I did my best, but I still fucked up and I'm still fucking up. And I'm not going to say that this is going to be the great elixir, but I do think that at least in at work and in the corporate world, we have all these frameworks. I'm like, why don't we have these frameworks in our life? And specifically as entrepreneurs, I think our life is our work. Like that is our greatest strength and our greatest challenge. So figuring out how to manage that is obviously why I'm on such a mission. So hopefully these have helped you today. And then I have two last thoughts. So one thing, and I have had so many conversations about this, and there's so many self-help books, and they all say self-confidence, self-help, and the reliance on yourself. And I do think you have to rely on yourself, but I also think it's a crock of bullshit. I'm going to tell you honestly, I think you need a cheerleader. I think you need a champion. I think you need somebody to tell you you're great, even when you're not, because you need somebody to help you get out of fucking bed. Honest to God. So if you don't have that, find it. I gotta be honest, your crazy friend that you're talking to helps get you out of bed in the morning. Honestly. So I think you gotta find that person who is going to cheer you on before you're famous, because you matter. You know, when we're famous and when we've got the, 2 million followers and all that sort of stuff, everybody is so quick to be like, oh, you're awesome. But honestly, it's the striving that
You've
actually.
been awesome all along.
I was awesome. Exactly. So who's telling you that? So find your tribe. Honestly, find your tribe, find a cheerleader, find someone that's gonna tell you you're awesome. That was my first thing. And then here's my second thing that I'll leave you guys with. So I have a community online and it's called In Good Company, because I think we all deserve to be in good company. I have all these frameworks and more. I have webinars, I have videos, I have talks, I have all these things on there, all these different tools. So I am going to email you these tools.
Please.
You don't have to go in there and find them.
Okay.
But separate from that, there's always something going on in that community that's a tool. And then I didn't even think about it, but then, I saw you raise your eyebrows. I'm sure, how many of you know Mark Hatchie? Do any of you know Mark? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so because of Mark, I run the Grow Your Biz boards. So I have one board that's full and I have another board that's not. So if that is of interest, there is zero pressure. You can ask me any questions and I'll tell you exactly how it works. And if that's something that would support you, great. If it's not, no big deal. No big deal. The difference between In Good Company and Grow Your Biz is one is kind of like a monthly membership and it's whoever shows up, shows up. The Grow Your Biz, it's a controlled group of women that to a certain degree curated. That's why we started the second board, so that the businesses are divided. And there's lots of different places to find me. You guys have that. Oh shoot. So I thought I put it here. Well, I may have lied. Okay, so the other thing that I have that is something that I'll send you guys, and so I apologize, I thought I put it in what I sent to Amy and I might not have, is I have a 1-page business plan document. And it's literally 1 page. And it's a business canvas, and it literally talks about the business that you're in, the target, how you earn revenue, how you grow your business, etc. It's 5 or 6 different boxes, and it's awesome. So that was the other bonus that I was going to put in there, and I'll show you one that is completed so that you have the example, and one that's blank. So I always try and give you an example. Same in the workbook. There's always an example of a completed one, so that you have the food for thought. The other thing is a positioning statement. So it helps you develop your unique selling proposition.
Mhm.
And so again, I give you one that's all populated and then I give you one where you fill in the blanks. So you'll have that as well. That's not meant to balance your time. So it's definitely not in the context of, it's an amazing framework. But it was not with the intent of this session, but I threw it in there because I thought, this could be something that is gonna come up today in conversation. So when I send these to you, you're gonna see those other two attachments. And so that's what those are as well. So each thing will be its own attachment so that you can pick and play with whatever you choose, and hopefully those will help you. Awesome. Go ahead, ask a question.
All this, the planning that you went through online, offline, and then that workbook that goes along with that. I don't know if anyone else experienced this, but my aha moment came in my musical career when I realized that the year worked in cycles. So I'd be in a writing
Yeah.
cycle,
Season.
maybe two, yeah, for sure. So everyone, even though you have this great plan for daily stuff, when I finally realized my quarterly cycles.
Yeah.
Then I kind of fell into that groove and I went, okay, once a year I'd go into the studio, like I'd be writing and going in the
Yeah.
studio and then I'd be performing. I just thought I'd mention that in case people are getting stuck in just, this is what I have to do every day.
It's kind of like the vibe chart. In fairness, what you
Okay.
found was your vibe and flow for the year,
Yeah,
which is amazing, which is your planning cycles and your creative cycles.
but I think everyone could, try and think of what your
100%.
cycle is. As a quarter, like
I have no idea.
April, darn well it's income tax time.
Yeah.
So don't book intensive whatever's during the month of April. You're probably already doing it. This is such a gift. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank
There's a test next week.
I'm sick. My dog ate my
you.
One of my dogs.
This is
There you go.
a real gift.
There you go, yes.
I don't know if it's a single mom thing, but I have like created my own basic versions of the exact same frameworks. See, people always ask me, how do you do as much as you do?
That's how you do it.